Today, Pastor Joshua will be reading from the book of Numbers, chapter 3. The first chapter, number 1, talk about the most important thing of God's presence. This is very, very important. Chapter 2, we talk about we must align with God who is in our midst. Today, we will share from the book of Numbers, chapter 3. And the focus today is the true worship. Jesus said, for those, the true worshiper, will worship God in spirit and in truth. Use worship God in spirit and in truth. So what is this truth? It refers to Christ. So how did the Old Testament represent this or reveal this? The chapter today, the topic is the true worship. And after that, there is a semicolon. Fear the Lord who is in our midst. The true worship is to fear God who is in our midst. Worship is a ministry. But I don't want to use the term minister or serve. Here it talks about the ministry services of the Levitical priest. Serve the God who is in our midst. How should we do? So I used 2 words to describe this. That is to fear God. Fear the Lord who is in our midst. When the Israelites, at that time they were in the wilderness, or in the future they went into the promised land. Their life is to worship God. Worship God who is in their midst. And what is a true worship like? Our worship could be twisted or according to our own ways. And God has a requirement because He is a holy God. So all the worship should be presented to Him according to His heart. This is how we fear God who is in our midst. There are 3 paragraphs in this chapter. Verse 1 to 13, the first paragraph. The standing on the edge of life and death in serving God. So we are standing on the edge like either we fall to the left, we leave, or fall to the right, we die. But we still serve God. We must be very careful. Cannot freely do whatever we want. And this is the meaning of fearing God. So we cannot just do whatever we like. We must do according to God's command. This command from God is also a grace from Him. Verse 1 to 13. I will share more on the first paragraph. And I'll go quickly for the other paragraphs. The first 13 verses are very important. It talks about the service of the Levitical priests. So this is the service where they stand on the edge of either dying or living. Verse 1, this is the account of the family of Aaron and Moses at the time of the Lord talked with Moses on Mount Sinai. And then we see that talk about the descendants of the family of Aaron and Moses. So the Lord talked to them, and the family of Aaron and Moses are written below. So it's very easy for us to think that, we are just talking about reading the histories of this family and the background. Here's talk about the beginning of an era. So the beginning of a tribe is a newborn tribe. They are the descendants of Aaron and Moses. And it started from Mount Sinai. On Mount Sinai, God talked to Moses and Aaron. Moses and Aaron, they were chosen by God. So their descendants are as follows. So we refer to the descendants of the Levitical priests being chosen by God. And here is how they are developed below. So how Moses and Aaron acted, then their descendants will become the same. Just like in the book of Genesis, like Terah, his descendants are as follows. So after the flood, then came their descendants this way. It's the beginning of a new tribe and a new era. Now they came to Mount Sinai. The Lord talked. And God established a covenant with the Israelites through Moses. God has chosen Moses and Aaron to serve him. The descendants of Moses and Aaron, they serve God this way. That is to say, their descendants should be like Aaron and Moses. So we talk about Aaron. Verse 2, the names of the sons of Aaron were Nadab, the firstborn, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Verse 3, those were the names of Aaron's sons, the anointed priests, who were ordained to serve as priests. Aaron has 4 sons. So in the times of Mount Sinai, God has chosen them. God talked. And God started the development of a new tribe. Aaron has 4 sons. They were the anointed priests. God anointed them. They were ordained to serve as a priest. The 4 sons of Aaron, they were anointed by God, as done by Moses. So among these 4 sons, there are 2 types. This is the descendants of Aaron. There are 2 types. The first type, the first group, as in verse 4, Nadab and Abihu, however, fell dead before the Lord when they made an offering with unauthorized fire before him in the desert of Sinai. They had no sons. The first type, they died. They made an offering with unauthorized fire. That is, the offering is not made according to the heart of God. God had given them instruction how they should get the fire. The fire should come from God. It's not that they found fire from other places and offer up to God. This is a ministry. That's why I say they are standing on the edge of life and death. Nadab and Abihu, they offer up, which is not what God wanted, but they offer up unauthorized fire. Yes, we can see the fire to say. Also, we see, we can smell the smoke, we can see the smoke. They thought that those fire was even better, more convenient. Maybe it's easy for them to get those unauthorized fire. Oh, what God wanted is so troublesome. So it's difficult to get. So let's do it freely. Oh, we have so many resources. Or maybe the unauthorized fire smell better. I made my decision. I think this is better. I use this way. Then, both of them, they brought this unauthorized fire before God. When they offer it up, and then God consumed them and they died before the Lord. This is recorded in the book of Leviticus. And they died before the Lord. With the presence of the Lord. But their corpse just submit under the Lord. This is a ministry of life and death. So only Eleazar and Ithamar served as priests during the lifetime of their father Aaron. The second part of verse 4. Because these other two sons, they fear God, they have faith. And they learned the lesson. They could see the two elder brothers died. So they did according to God's command. They obey and serve faithfully as priests before their father. So they dare not go beyond what the father commanded them to do. So they are serving in the ministry of life and death. So we can see two sons died and the other two continue to live. Verse 5. The Lord said to Moses, "Bring the tribe of Levi and present them to Aaron, the priest, to assist him." God has chosen the Levites, standing before Aaron, the priest, to serve him, to serve Aaron, to serve the priest. The Levites have to serve the priest. Aaron's family belongs to the Levites tribe. And even the Levites have to come and serve Aaron. Verse 7. They are to perform duties for him and for the whole community at the tent of meeting by doing the work of the tabernacle. They are to take care of all the furnishings of the tent of meeting, fulfilling the obligations of the Israelites by doing the work of the tabernacle. The Levites were chosen to serve Aaron, to serve the priest and his descendants. And they need to serve at the tent of meeting and the tabernacle. They take care of all the furnishings there, fulfill the obligations from the Lord. So they have to do the work of the tabernacle. And they take care of all the furnishings there, what God has commanded the Israelites. Because the Israelites cannot come near the sanctuary. They are not allowed to come near, the Israelites. And the Levites, they need to handle the work, all the work, in the tent of meetings and the tabernacles. The main duty is to serve Aaron and to take care of the sanctuary and to do the work of the tabernacle. Verse 9. Give the Levites to Aaron and his sons. They are the Israelites who are to be given wholly to him. The Levites must come to serve Aaron. They were being chosen among the Israelites. We can see that the priests and the Levites are chosen by God. Verse 10. Appoint Aaron and his sons to serve as priests. Anyone else who approaches the sanctuary must be put to death. So those who approach the sanctuary must be put to death. So the Levitical priests, especially the Levites, they have two types of duties. The priest has to look after the sanctuary. And the priest will command the Levites to do this work, to serve the priest. Apart from looking after the sanctuary, they have to do all the work of the tabernacle, or they need to move the tables and all kinds of work. I thought about the happy team in our church. The happy team, we have the cleaning staff. So we do this kind of work. They are very important. So what you're doing, you're like standing in the ministry of life and death. When the people, the outsider came to attack in front of the tabernacles or the sanctuary, or like the Israelites, they carelessly came before the tabernacle and they touched the holiness of God. As they don't know how to fear God, then what happened? Then they will be killed. Who will kill these people? It's the Levites. It's the Levites. When I look at this, I feel uneasy. When I look at our co-workers, in fact, we are the priests and the Levites. And the co-workers of all the branch churches, the full-time co-workers, the administration staff, you are also the priests and the Levites. We are standing in the ministry of life and death. Just like the Levites in the Old Testament. But how are we doing today? Do we highly regard our position as the Levitical priest? We don't feel that we are standing like in the ministry of life and death. We just freely do or freely minister. We don't feel that we will die. If other people, they have problems, when we face them, their problems, we will just let go. Yes, because we have love. Lately, we've been talking with our curator staff. So Simo talked to the curator staff. How come you didn't tell me that some of your staff have problems? You don't tell me. You just do it, or you just handle the case, or you just let them go, or you just cover up. When it exploded, then we know about this. Why don't you let us know earlier? I feel really sad. Yesterday, I heard from Pastor Gloria while she's leading the prayer of ministry prayers. She confessed. She heard from some co-workers. They complained. Why, under the current pandemic, the marketplace people, they can have home office, but not for us. Simo and I heard. We were shocked. How come it's like this? I think all our co-workers are good. How come they have such an attitude? How come they don't feel that, under the current pandemic, it is the grace of God for us to come back to the church to serve? And we are worth doing this. Because we are standing in the ministry of life and death. So it is very important for us to come back and serve. We are representing other brothers and sisters to come to the church. So from this chapter today, we can see it. I couldn't see it even yesterday. May God help us. as co-worker, as administration staff or cleaning staff. You must know about your position, your calling, and also about the truth and the requirement of you from God. We are standing in a ministry of life and death. It's not we freely come or we don't want to come. For the curated staff, for the ministers and other co-workers, it's not that you see the situations, you see the problems arising from other staff and you cover them up. And then after the morning devotion yesterday, I asked, who is that person? You must tell me. And then one of the curated staff said, no need, Pastor, I can handle it myself. You can handle it yourself? You don't need me? Or maybe the way you handle it is better than me? Why don't you tell me? At the end, Pastor Gloria didn't tell me. She didn't say it. Because our co-workers has an attitude. And if I tell Pastor about the name of this co-worker, then he will be blacklisted. And then Pastor Dosher and Simo might punish that person. And for them, they won't punish that co-worker. So they handle the matter without judgment or punishment. But I want you to see today. So those who approach the sanctuary will be put to death, will surely be put to death. Anyone else who approaches the sanctuary must be put to death. It's the Levites who will put this type of person to death. My co-workers, what are you standing? Where are you standing? I'm also talking to all my branch churches. And this can also apply to all brothers and sisters. Because this is a worship. The most important thing is God's presence. We must align with God. Every one of us, we worship God. We come before Him. We want to come before the sanctuary of God, but there is a boundary. Everyone, we must align with God to worship Him. So these few scriptures refer to the priests and the Levites. They represent the whole congregation. They stand before God. And all the congregation members, they also should serve God this way. We must support the service, the ministries of the Levitical priests. And it represents every one of us. And we must have this attitude when we worship God. We must worship God in spirit and in truth. This is how we face God. No matter we are worshiping God online or in on site, my children, we must align with God, fear Him. Whatever belongs to God, we offer up to Him. So when you worship God, how is it like? So when you meet with the great King, so it's not just freely come and worship Him. So brothers and sisters, even though we worship online, you must put on your tidy up yourself, put on the tidy clothes to face God this way. No matter it's on-site or online worship. So we should not just do freely relax or lie down when we worship God. So maybe some people, they are playing around a basketball while looking at the service. So it's easy for us to look away. So we must fear God. Verse 11. The Lord also said to Moses, I have taken the Levites from among the Israelites in place of the first male offspring of every Israelite woman. The Levites are mine. Verse 13. For all the firstborn are mine. When I struck down all the firstborn in Egypt, I set apart for myself every firstborn in Israel, whether man or animal. They are to be mine. I am the Lord. All the Levites are chosen by God. You must know that you are called by God. So among the ministers, all the staff of the Happy Team and administration staff, you are being chosen by God. You belong to God. You are chosen by God. In place of all people, the Levites was chosen to substitute the Israelites in place of the first male offspring of every Israelite. So listen again. The Levites are chosen and they belong to God. They belong to God. And how? They are taken in place of the first male offspring of every Israelite. Because when they came out of Egypt, so in Egypt, all the firstborn was killed, including men or people and also the livestock, the firstborn. But for the Israelites, the firstborn, they are being saved. So for the Egyptian, all the firstborn, and including the livestock, even the firstborn of Pharaoh was killed. So God said, all the firstborn belong to me. So among the Israelites, the firstborn, they also belong to God. And the Levites, they are being chosen by God to substitute the firstborn of the Israelites. The Levites belong to me. And in Israel, all the firstborn belong to me. So the Levites, they are staying in the presence of God to serve Him, representing all the firstborn of the Israelites. That is every family. They have a representative. In the Levites, they serve God. So the Levites represent all our worship. I'm telling all the co-workers today, we are representing our brothers and sisters because they cannot come for on-site worship. We are being employed. We can. So we represent all our brothers and sisters to serve God, to worship God. And how about the people in the marketplace? They can have home office, but not for us. Do you know that you are representing them as well? And brothers and sisters from the marketplace, you cannot come back because the Levites represent you. And even when you are at home, you should also tidy up yourself and worship God. With the high spirit, worship Him. And we have the estimation, but the reporting. And the number of people worship God online and even on site. We have those records. So we can see the numbers are many, but the number of hours is not many. So we must focus on God while worshiping Him. We know that our ministry service, we are standing in a ministry of life and death. Verse 14 to 39. So we wholly belong to God. and commit ourselves in ministry. We're standing like a ministry of life and death. We worship God. So this whole big paragraph, so we can easily finish it. So there is like a formula, and there are some changes. It talk about the number of people. So the clans and the family of the Levites, they're counted, their numbers. And every male a month old or more has been counted. The pattern is the number of people, the venue, the place, and also the responsibility of the tribal leaders. I should put it this way. I read it first. Verse 15. Count the Levites by the families and clans. Count every male a month old or more. So Moses counted them, as he was commanded by the word of the Lord. So when we say count, that is to visit or touch it, care for it. So for every male a month old or more was counted by the Levites. They must be counted. So it's a month old or more. We can see that for Levites, no matter they're small or big, we all belong to God. Or I only serve God at the age of 20. Or when they are 1 month old, they already belong to God. Of course, they don't know how to do things, but they also belong to God. They commit their life to God. And then we continue to read on. We see the four corners of the earth. And this is how the family of Aaron, the Levites, are being counted. Like if this is the tabernacle, the tent of meeting. Yesterday we talked about the outer circle, the 12 tribes. Today we talk about the inner circle. So in the east, we have Moses and Aaron. And the sons of Aaron, they are in the east side, the Levitical tribes. And then north, south, and west. So the north part is, we have the Kohathite. And the west, they belong to the Gershonites. And the north is Merarites. And they circle the tent of meeting. And every side, every tribe, they have counted the number of people. Altogether, when they added, so altogether they have, for every tribe, what the duties are being listed. We could see the tribe. We could see the truth. They are being chosen by God. They represent all the Israelites. Represent every family. Whatever they have done, are commanded by God. For our co-workers today, and also brothers and sisters. So our co-workers, we should not compare ourselves with each other. But how come I only do worship? Why there is no the head of worship department? Why there is only the power ministry department? Or maybe I should go to the children's church. It's more comfortable. It's not. If God has chosen you to be a cleaning staff, then you do your work diligently. If God has chosen you to move a table, then you do it faithfully. We should not admire the priest or I admire other people. Or if they are keeping watch or in night watch or whatever, they just sit there, they just stand there. We should not do this. We should not compare ourselves with other co-workers. If you are the receptionist, oh, I must be a minister. We are not content with what we have. And when we look at other people, how they serve or what they have, oh, then we envy over them. It's not you who choose, because you fully belong to God and you commit your life to God. So let's look at the last paragraph. Verse 40 until the end. So it's a ministry service by the whole Israelites. So this is how we stand in ministry of life and death. We commit all our life. And the whole congregation, the Israelites, they have a part in it. The Levites, they have substituted all the firstborn of the Israelites, including the people and also the livestock. When they counted the numbers, the difference is 273. So the number of the Levites, when the firstborn was counted, as compared with the Israelites, the firstborn, then the difference is 273. So God said we need to redeem them. So the Israelites, all people, all the firstborn. So the families of all the Israelites, they have representative. They are represented by the Levites, and one represent one. So cannot be less or more. This is how they serve God. Like every family should serve this way. Amen. May God help us. So God is speaking to our ministers. Talk to our co-workers from all branches. And also God is speaking to all brothers and sisters. So God is more serious talking to our co-workers. So to the brothers and sisters, you must know about the truth. What is the true worship? We must use our spirit and truth to worship God. Today, we are under the pandemic. We are in wilderness. Let us administer the presence of God before the tabernacle. So, like Jesus also came from heaven to the wilderness. And God also come down under our current pandemic. He's with us. How should we serve Him? We must minister to God. It's not that, when God comes down, we see His presence, so we just freely do whatever we want. We must fear the presence of God. Follow God and move forward. May God help us. Thank you, God, for choosing every one of us, especially in the pandemic. You have chosen us to be the priests, the Levites.